Morning, everybody. That was embarrassing. Today, we're going to talk about rational exponents a little bit. We're moving away from what we had been working on and some of the factoring stuff. And today, we're going to be talking about multiplying, just multiplying rational exponents. Now, if you recall from all the last 11, 12 years of your mathematical education, rational means that we've got fractions. Look, a fraction. And exponent means that it's up in the right-hand corner of the number. So like 2 to the 3/2 power instead of like 2 to the 3rd power or 2 to the 4th power. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that we're looking at today, or at least that we're going to be building up to. I want to begin not with rational exponents, actually. I want to start, whoops, almost dropped it. Instead by just talking about doing some multiplying and dividing of exponents. For example, if I have 4 to the 3rd power times 4 to the 8th power, now you can take 4 to the 3rd and figure out what that is. 4 to the 4 is 16, 16 is 4 is 64? Yeah, 64. 64. 4 to the 8th power is something huge, because with large exponents, numbers get stupid big, stupid fast. Okay? So we've got 64 times something really, really big. And I don't want to write that because I don't have the time or the patience for that. So we leave it as exponents. Okay? So 4/3 times 4/8 is going to equal 4. When we are multiplying like this, 4 to the 11th power. And we've done this kind of stuff before. Like whenever you do x times x, that equals x squared. You're really adding exponents there too. X to the 1st times x to the 1st, because everything, unless we say, is to the 1st power. Okay? So x to the 1st times x to the 1st is x to the 2nd, 1 plus 1. If you had x squared times x squared, that would be 2 plus 2 is x to the 4th. 7 to the 9th power times 7 to the 6th power equals 7 to the 15th power. Okay? Now, it is important that when we're looking at this kind of stuff, we make sure that we're not combining things in ways that we can't combine them. For example, 7 to the 5th times 6 squared equals 7 to the 5th, 6 squared. We can't combine those because they have different bases. They've got different numbers there. Okay? So there's nothing that we can do there. So this is how we basically multiply. We're going to be looking at a lot of these things today. Okay? There is, though, something that you should keep in mind. And that is, let's do this. Let me give you just a real quick practice problem to work on. And just find me 8 squared times 8 to the 9th. Go. 2 plus 9 is 11. So we're going to have 8 to the 11th power. Okay, that's what we're looking for there. And you may have noticed, probably not, no, because Edpuzzle will allow me to do that. You're going to notice that as soon as you start typing in answers into Schoology, that you can't get a higher power. You can't actually type in exponents, which is more than a little bit frustrating. 4 questions where you are asked to do that. You will have 8. Then there's a caret key, kind of like an up, look up, to the 11th. Okay, is how you would type something like that. Okay? The next thing that I want to talk about is just looking at a bunch of variables here, is give you an example of what happens if we got a whole bunch of stuff multiplied by a whole bunch of stuff. Okay? Before I do that, let's do a real quick negative. Let's just say a to the 4th times a to the negative second, we add them. We still add them. 4 times negative 2 will be a squared. And we'll cover this a little bit more tomorrow when we get into division, okay? Or the day after. I don't know when we'll get to division. But when we talk about division, we'll talk about why this works. And it's actually pretty simple and straightforward, and there's a really good reason for this. But when you multiply by a negative up here, you'll end up subtracting. Okay, so don't freak about that too much. I'll explain that more, but just do what we've already talked about, where you add things together. All right, so let's look at a squared b cubed c squared times a cubed b c to the negative first. Okay? Combine all of your like terms. Remember, we're multiplying, so we're going to be adding all of our exponents. So for a, we have a terms. A squared and a cubed. 2 plus 3 is to the 5th. B cubed, there's a 1 here. Even though we didn't write it, there's a 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And then c squared, negative 1 will just be c. You can write c to the first power or just c. Either way will be just fine. Okay, so looking at these terms and multiplying them together, that's what we're looking at right there. Okay, let me give you a sample problem, and then I'll let you get to work on the multiplication of exponents. Okay, take a moment and type that in and figure out your answer and go. And here we go. Let's talk about it. Let's deal with our x terms. X and x, 7 plus 2 is to the 9th. Negative 3 and positive 5 will be y squared. And remember, that's a z to the first, so that'll be z to the 4th power. And that's what we're looking at today. Things will gradually get more complicated, but I want to start us off with something small right now. So go ahead. Homework should already be posted. Remember that carrot trick. It might get a little tricky. It might get a little ugly with the homework. Sorry, it's not a perfect system. So do your best, and I'll try and make it as straightforward as possible while I'm going through that. So go ahead, get to work on this stuff, and I will see you all. There's nothing on Friday or Monday this week, so I'll see all of you on Wednesday.